it wasn't as stunning as it would have been if it hadn't kind of trickled out over the weekend that Sean Payton hadn't committed to returning to the Saints in 2022. And then the owner of the team, Gail Benson, made it clear on Monday they didn't know what was going on. On Tuesday, we all found out what was going on. Sean Payton joined the Saints 16 years ago and now resigns as the head coach. Goes out on his own terms. It was time. He explained that yesterday. 90-minute press conference, and he was great. It never got to the point where it was boring. He was telling good stories. He was giving praise where the praise needed to be given, gratitude where the gratitude needed to be shown. But you know, Chris, one of the, and I've said last week, there's a handful of great coaches and there's everybody else. He's one of the handful of great coaches. So they better develop another great coach to make up for the fact that Peyton's going to be gone at least for a year. And there's still a slim chance that it may not even be that, although I think that's a very slim chance.
Right, I hear you. It's a huge loss. I mean, even though we kind of knew or it felt like it was coming, it was still shocking. Like yesterday, you were the first one to text me to say that it was coming. Like, oh, wow, Peyton, Sean Payton. That was still big news. I'm sitting there studying film, watching games, going, damn, Sean Payton's not going to be in football. Holy cow. Yeah, he's special. He's got great perspective, like you saw in the press conference. He is a great communicator. He's respectful of the questions that he gets asked. He is, of course, one of the great offensive minds in the history of the sport. And I think he's already borderline Hall of Fame type of coach. I think he's in that conversation. I don't know if he'll get in right now with the current status, but I think in my book he's probably there. He is, as far as what he's done, especially on the offensive side of the ball with Drew Brees, all the numbers, consistent, really good football team throughout the years, gotten ripped off a few times, as we know, with the Rams and the bad call and all that. But Sean Payton's one of my favorites. He's one of my favorite press conferences. He's one of my favorite play callers. I love his attitude when he's on the sideline of a football game. I love his teams. They play tough. They're physical, even though they're famous for throwing the football. And that takes a special trait in a coach, too, to be good at both like that. So I'll be sorry to see him go.
Career record of 161 and 97 with a winning percentage of 62.4%. There are coaches in the Hall of Fame with lesser wins than 161, and he has a Super Bowl championship, and he's not done. That's the other side of it. He's not done. He didn't even try to close the door on possibly coaching again. He's coming back at some point, whether it's after 1 year, whether it's after 2 years. And, again, there's still a slim possibility that he's back after no years. But I think that – and also, Chris, we can't lose sight of the fact that they've created a separate lane for coaches now to get to the Hall of Fame that didn't used to be there. You used to compete with players for those handful of Hall of Fame busts that they give out every year. Now you've got a side door to get to the Hall of Fame if you're a coach, and we're going to see a backlog of deserving coaches get in, like the late Dan Reeves, for example. And I think Sean Payton eventually gets in through that path. And the Saints had been, kids, if you're 20 or younger.
This is, to me, the greatest achievement. Yeah, go ahead.
The Saints had stunk.
Right.
The Saints had been horrible. The Saints had been doormats. They joined the NFL in the late 60s. They never made it to the playoffs until 1987. They didn't win a playoff game until 2000 when they somehow beat the greatest show-offs on turf in a wild card round game. Sean Payton transformed that franchise with Drew Brees. And
100%.
It was great yesterday. I don't know if we're going to play the sound. We may or we may not. But just the quick summary. Drew Brees fell into their laps. And Drew Brees had 20-plus studs in his shoulder. And when you're an organization that is always kind of fighting against the headwind, you got to take those chances. And they did. The Dolphins didn't, and they did. And that went a long way toward helping Drew Brees, Sean Payton together transform that franchise.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And to me, that's his greatest accomplishment. You talk about the offense, the 5,000 yards, the Super Bowl. Of course, the Super Bowl, I know, is the greatest accomplishment. But I think it is what you said that has always jumped out about me. And I've had to explain this to my son, kind of just the way you said it. Hey, kids, the Saints were the doormat of football, for the longest of times. And then, I know in the late 80s, we had that moment with the linebackers and Pat Swilling and Jackson and Sam Mills, and they were, a good football team. And they had some moments in the 90s where they were a little relevant. But he made them an NFL power. I mean, to where they got to the point over the last 10, 12 years, even this year without Drew Brees, where we went, well, I think the Saints can still go to the playoffs. I still think they can do it. But I do look at it like this. I mean, hey, timing, we always know. It's really important, no matter what it is. Like you said, the timing of Drew Brees, it fell right into their lap. But hey, there's 2 big TV jobs out there right now. Could be Monday Night Football. Sounds like it might be available. Amazon might be available. So if you're looking to take a year off and get paid for doing it and get paid big money, damn, it's good to be Sean Payton right now. And then the other thing, when I finally heard the fact that he wasn't coming back yesterday, and you texted me, you were the first one to let me know. The first thing I thought of was, I just went, well, of course. Who's his mentor, Mike? Who's the guy that he looks up to and kind of polished his career? Bill Parcells. Yep. This is such a Bill Parcells move. This is what he did. The Giants, hey, we were good. We won 2 Super Bowls. I'm a little burnt out. I don't know exactly where the team's going to be the next few years, so I'm going to get out now, recharge, and I'll evaluate the landscape and go from there. But I think when you look at all of those things, it's a long haul. He's emotionally, physically, everything invested into what he does as a head coach. He lives it, he breathes it, he dies it. So I'm sure he is burnt out. But then I don't know how you cannot look at the roster of the Saints and not think, well, this might be a part of it too that's helping him nudge out the door, at least in my opinion.
Well, that's right. It's better to walk away at a time when you nearly made it to the playoffs, and but for the Rams collapsing against the 49ers. Think about that. The 49ers, one of the Final Four teams, one of the real contenders to win the Super Bowl, wouldn't have made it if the Rams had merely held a 17-0 lead. The Saints would have been in instead. But to do that with one hand tied behind your back this year, now's the time to walk away, because the roster's not going to be any better. And at some point, you're getting fired. This way, you get to control your departure. There's the old Rolling Stones song, I'm going to walk before they make me run. That's what he did, because if you hang around that extra year or 2 or whatever, then game over, and it's a different vibe.
Totally.
When Gail Benson decides to fire you, than when you walk away. And not that he would have failed under those circumstances, but you're going to bust your ass and just hope that it's enough that the owner doesn't decide to make a change. So he knew it was the right time.
I think
and he'll know when it's the right time to come back. And look, one of the theories is Troy Aikman goes to Amazon and Sean Payton then becomes the #1 analyst at Fox with Joe Buck. I don't know that Sean Payton goes straight to doing games for a couple of reasons. Number one, if he's not in it for the long haul, it's kind of odd to give him the #1 spot. There's a politics that goes on within these networks where, you'd start him off lower on the totem pole. You wouldn't drop him into #1, especially if he's not clearly all in and committed to being your #1 guy indefinitely. And also, it's not going to be easy for him to do games. Because
he's going to want to coach. He's going to go, what the hell are they doing, or why aren't they running this play?
No, here's why. Why.
Yeah.
Because he made it clear, and I'm not going to say he made it clear he's coming back, but he made no effort to close the door on coming back, which is so different than anything we've heard from any other former coach that we just assume he's coming back.
Right.
Good luck getting coaches to be as welcoming and as open and as transparent as you need them to be for production meetings. Now, John Gruden, I guess, didn't have that issue, but John Gruden never left the door open the way that Sean Payton did either. And the other side of it, we talked about this yesterday, and maybe Sean Payton will be the exception. I kind of have a feeling that it will be.
I think so, too.
You can't be as candid. You can't be as critical. You can't do the job the right way in TV as a game commentator, or even as a studio analyst, if you're holding anything back. And maybe he won't hold anything back, and he'll worry about whether or not that burns bridges later. He'll worry about repairing those bridges later, and I think he's skilled enough to do it.
Yeah.
Where you can say, hey, I'm just doing my job. They expect me to say things. I don't mean anything by it. It's nothing personal. I got to say things. I got to say what I believe. Don't you expect me to tell you what I believe? I said what I believe. I'm not going to be two-faced. You're always going to get the straight dope from me. I would say it to your face. I'll say it in front of a camera. See, he could pull it off. Others couldn't. I think he could.
I agree. I think he could pull it off, even to the fact to where I think his status is big enough as a personality and as the play caller that, I hear what you're saying. It's odd to think of somebody that, he might only do this for a short period of time, and then he's going to get back into coaching to make him the number one guy. But I don't know. I think Sean Payton's big enough to where these networks will certainly think about it. He's got a certain charisma and, like, to your point, a way of delivering things, even in press conferences or after a game, whenever. He's very good that way about kind of explaining it and being very honest about it and protecting players and people as he does it. He's got a great touch as far as that's concerned. So, I'm happy, and I understand him getting out of there. When you really look at it and some of the things they got going on their team, this would be the time to get out. If you're thinking about getting out and you need a time to rest and you'd like to start up somewhere new in 2 or 3 years. I know we hit on this a little yesterday, but, no Drew Brees. I don't know if the answer at quarterback is on their roster. So, wow, you got a lot of work to do there. And even, I understand Sean Payton, he can still be competitive with any quarterback. I understand that. You got aging players on the defense. You look at Cam Jordan, he's in the middle of his 30s, getting paid a lot of money. They're way over the salary cap. Malcolm Jenkins is 37 years old. Teron Armstead's about to be a free agent at left tackle. He's going to want a ton of money. Alvin Kamara, it's year 7 running back. They ran him hard this year. Like, to me, there's Michael Thomas. What the hell's going to happen there? There's a lot of things, I think, going on with that football team and a lot of things that I think need to be done here, sometime in the recent future. And they're in a tough spot, like we talked about. They're kind of in salary cap hell that way. So from all those things, too, and I can imagine him being burnt out. Of course he is. That's a psycho job, and I think he's a psycho in a good way, as we always talk about. Hey, once a year, wants to get away, wants to recharge the battery. But I think, there's some tough challenges and maybe some tough times ahead for the New Orleans Saints football team.
Simmsism.
What did I
Recent
say?
Future. Recent future.
Recent future. Yes.
Yes. That would be quite a trick.
It doesn't even register in my brain. I feel like I say it so much now. I didn't even realize it. After you said it, and I was like, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense, but it made sense to me.
From the salary cap standpoint, look, I think that Mickey Loomis has been masterful at kicking the can. And the thing about kicking the can, and this is a very simple concept: $1 this year hurts you less than $1 next year. Wait, let me turn that around. $1 next year hurts you less than $1 this year because the salary cap keeps going up. So relative to the rest of the cap, if you have $100,000 in cap space that gets kicked forward to a year, next year it hurts less. It's because you've got more to work with. So that's what teams do. So, yeah, they have a huge cap deficit. They'll find a way to make it work. But still, you got to have the players. You got to have the answers. And they may have fallen into one of these veteran quarterbacks. Look, I think Aaron Rodgers was eyeballing the Saints before what happened yesterday. Not that he was at the top of the list, but I think the Saints were in the conversation before what happened yesterday. Now, I think that changes, but they would have worked something out. With Sean Payton there and Mickey Loomis working together, they would have worked something out. He just decided that it was time.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.